welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Irad, and so today we are still in Invictus Launch Fleet Week, and we have, of course, Tumbril and RSI with new vehicles that are coming up that you can get on the Pledge Store. And so Jared today is going to talk about these in today's episode of Inside Star Citizen, apparently. So let's check it out. Oh, 15 minutes. It's going to be a long one. Here we go.
Invictus is here, and with it a celebration of all things spaceship and...
Yeah, and since we have Invictus, that's 2 episodes about Invictus and not about the development of the game, but, well...
space vehicle. And with today being both RSI and Tumbril Day, we've got introductions to 2 new ground vehicles for you this week, starting with an old friend ready to make our Constellation Phoenix complete, the RSI Lynx.
Ah, finally,
ground vehicles
yes.
in Star Citizen.
Now, I got a Lynx, and I'll be trying it out on the channel, so be on the lookout, because there's going to be a video about it very soon.
Play quite a large role. Obviously, we have these fully realized full planets and moons. You don't always want to spend all your time flying over them in your ships. We're going to have things coming online.
But the problem is that with those moons, and that's something that we can see right there, the problem is that it's full of rocks. It's really hard to navigate on those moons and planets, and we need to have roads, or we need to have open areas with, you know, just sand or just snow, so that it's easy for us to navigate, because it's just a hassle driving those vehicles sometimes.
Future such as weather that's going to make that prohibitively more dangerous to do.
Flying is the main traversal type, but of course with ground vehicles, there is so much more to explore on planets. It adds so much diversity to the missions that we have.
I feel like ground vehicles are an opportunity.
Now I love to do that. A little buggy here on Horizon. Now that is fun, and I wish that there was a little racetrack around the buildings. I know that some orgs actually do that, but if there was an official one, that would be even better.
Have fun and explore the terrain of our lovely planet. Not from,
oh no, that does not look so good. Why did they do that?
But really get in and around with the dunes and the broken ships and stuff.
The fun, the dynamic, you know, you get some feedback from the road. If you enjoy driving, it's something for you, isn't it? It's not always a spaceship.
Yes.
You need to have the options.
And eventually, I'm going to make a video about driving those ground vehicles with a steering wheel. So I think it's going to be coming up this summer. I need to do a couple of tests, but that should be a fun one as well, especially doing those little racetracks there.
If you don't have a ship, how
Definitely
are you going
to be easier than with...
you need something to get you there, and if you're going from A to B, then someone's in the way, you get a tank.
Yes! And that's something that I've done before. I actually did run over those NPCs. Now, right now, they don't really know what's going on. They don't really target us, but in the future, they will. So it will be a bit more dangerous than what it is now. Oh, the tank is here. And there's the new tank that's coming up also eventually in the future. We'll talk about later.
We're introducing 2 new vehicles to the game, the drivable RSI Lynx and a concept vehicle, which we'll talk about later. The Lynx was introduced alongside the RSI Constellation Phoenix back in 2014.
So it's basically not a limo, but it's a Mercedes S-Class for Star Citizen. That's what it is. And I wish that we had planet-to-planet transport mission, you know, short transport missions with ground vehicles. That vehicle would be so perfect, but right now, apart from role-playing or just driving in style, there's just no point.
Mentioned as it's sort of an add-on to the Phoenix.
The Lynx is RSI's more luxury counterpart to the Ursa rover.
It expands the capabilities. I suppose there's
an
element of, I don't know, showing off maybe.
Yeah, that's right.
It's for the distinguished individual who likes to travel in style.
It serves a different purpose to the Ursa. It's very much for VIP transport and exploration.
I like that it comes with a bottle of champagne.
The Scorpius. We've taken some stuff from the Ursa itself. We've invented other stuff from scratch because not everything that we needed already existed. It is fun and fancy.
I like the logo here. Very reminiscent of sometimes vehicles have their own logo that become their own sub-brand. What if Lynx becomes the luxury version of RSI? It could be also a little bit something that they might be doing, just like what they did with Mirai and Misk. I can see that happening. Oh, the turret goes away like that.
Is amazing. It's got so many great angles, and it just looks so RSI. It just comes together really nicely. We took the Ursa and we basically made it beautiful.
It trades out some of that,
That means
rugged
the Ursa is ugly.
utilitarian functionality for just a more enjoyable experience to ride around exploring in the back of.
So
I like
it's a lot
the
of clean,
window in the
glossy
back.
panels, higher quality materials, and less dense detail, more focusing on angular lines.
We're very constrained with the overall size dimensions. It has to fit in the Phoenix, so we couldn't make the vehicle any longer, wider, taller. So we had to work to the same footprint.
So it's basically it's basically an Ursa, a luxury version of the Ursa, right? It's like, imagine a Toyota Camry and a Lexus ES, right? It's exactly the same vehicle, except that one of them is high end and the other is not.
Do not have too much visible mechanics on the outside of it, because you don't want to go up to a fancy luxury car and just see the engine just there. You know it's a car, you know it's got an engine, you don't need to know where the engine is. You just want it to look good whilst you're actually getting from A to B.
It's very nice design. Alberto, our concept artist, did a very good job on that. We had quite a lot of references to new electric trucks, that type of thing.
It kind of looks a little bit like the Cybertruck, especially with the
day-running lights.
The lights.
As you go round to the side, you've got like a peek-in window of the cockpit. So underneath you can sort of see feet. I don't know why you'd want to see feet, but yeah, you can. And then we've got the suspension uprights, which are finished in like a goldy colour, which is quite nice. It's quite ornate for something that sort of takes the load of the vehicle.
I'm not sure we're going to pay much attention to the suspensions, but okay, cool.
That kind of thing. Very nice.
I like the tires,
13-piece
though.
door. 13 piece on my side. You're not going to see 13 pieces.
I think my favourite thing on the Lynx is the wheels. They are quite unlike anything else we've got in the game.
We've tried to go
They
for
look
wheels
very
that
luxurious
seem a little
indeed.
bit more luxurious, so we've gone for a shape that will kind of make them a little bit quieter.
They look pretty cool. They're very evocative of those sort of sand racing tyres with the big ribs on them. They give it a very strong visual identity from the outside.
My favourite thing about the Lynx is the huge rear windows.
It's got this
Oh
lovely
yes.
wraparound
Oh
window.
yeah. That is looking really nice here. That rear window. If you're a passenger and you just want to look at what's around you, that especially in Star Citizen, a lot of places are beautiful. Not everywhere, but lots of places are beautiful. And I can see myself being a passenger and just look around. Yeah,
This creates a very different atmosphere inside the vehicle.
Whether you're having in-game business meetings or just chilling with your friends, having that scenery so on display right next to you really adds to the whole experience when you're just sat in the back with your champagne.
When you step in, we've got some
When can we
TVs
drink
that pop out to
champagne?
the sides of the panels, some personal storage, and seats, which move. And you can push a button and they will spin around. You've also got a location for storage, which obviously folds away so that if you've got something you just want to put up there, you don't have to see it, but you know it's there. We've also
Okay,
got
that's nice.
a weapons rack. It folds itself away and it pops out. It's got some nice little
Yeah, you
smoky
never
glass
know.
doors
You
on the
never
front of
know.
it.
The lighting is designed to be a more habitable
Because
area.
that's great that they have those weapons. It means that you can still be using that for, let's say, a bunker mission, for example. Sometimes you still need a ground vehicle for a bunker mission because the tourists will be shooting you, but they are not going to be shooting you if you come with a ground vehicle. And so an Ursa or a Lynx now could do the job.
For your luxury passengers.
We have a magnificent full-length fridge, and off to the left we've got a couple of shelves where you can store stuff. We don't say it's a drug storage location, but secretly it is a drug storage location. Just don't tell the cops.
I see that the CIG had a lot of fun
Compared
doing those
to
little
the
scenes.
base Ursa, the Lynx is a little more agile, a little faster. It is like this because it just has less weight to it, less carrying capability, so it can trade that off for speed.
But is it more durable though? Because then if it's faster, it's going to be more interesting to do for races like the Daymar Rally.
And the
Is it more durable?
two people that are sat in the back in relative luxury have a much nicer experience seeing the sights of the universe around them. Compared to the other ground vehicles in events such as the Daymar Rally, I think this is going to be a strong competitor. It's going to be really interesting to see which players prioritize over the other, whether you take the the speed of the Lynx versus the increased durability of the
Ah,
RSI
there
itself.
we go. That's
But
what he was
you don't
talking about.
often
Yes.
see Bentleys racing against other vehicles in real-life rallies, so
Well,
maybe
Bentley
not as
does
durable
have a
as the others.
racing
This is
just
for
department,
people
though.
that like to get from A to B and look like they're in a good car when they're doing it.
I think the fantasy of having someone chauffeur you around while you're sitting in the back drinking cocktails or the champagne and looking at your business portfolio.
No.
Well,
Yeah, but we
just
it's not something
the
that's
world
in the
of Star
game right
Citizen goes on
now.
around
Come
you.
on.
It's pretty cool.
It's also for people who'd never be caught dead racing in a mule.
So that's the new way to get around the surface of Stanton's planets and moons in style. But what about those who want a bit more pew-pew with
Yes.
their hot looks?
They
Just
thought
go
about
with
the
it.
Eradicator here. Yes.
Well, Tumbril has you covered with the latest in planet-side mobility and destroyability with the Tumbril Storm. Let's find out more.
Good. So
Hello
I got a
again.
storm.
It is once again
also.
myself, John Crew. Let's talk
John
about
Crew is
the
doing
concept
double
vehicle that
duty
we're
today.
introducing
It's
at
very busy.
Invictus Launch Week, the Tumbril Storm. The Tumbril Storm is a light/scout tank for.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Now I did not look into the spoilers, so I wasn't I didn't know what to expect. Wow, that's looks a bit lighter, maybe more usable than the Nova. I know it's a bit cheaper than the Nova. I mean, I got one, so obviously I saw the picture, but I didn't pay much attention to it. Just instant bought it so that when it comes out, I'll try for you guys.
From Tumbril. In a lot of combined armed forces, you rely on reconnaissance on the ground to let you know what's coming ahead. And
Oh, so it's like a light armored vehicle, right, for reconnaissance. I can see this vehicle. I can see a vehicle like this being used, for example, for some retrieval mission. You know, you just shoot at the NPCs, you grab what you need to grab, and then you just leave. I hope that it's going to have a little storage place for boxes, you know, delivery boxes. That would be perfect, I think. It would be also nice to bring a couple of those in Jump Town to control the outside, perhaps. But then you'll be very vulnerable to tanks, though, I think. So, yeah, there is something in between infantry vehicles, something between the Cyclone and the Nova tank, perhaps.
whilst we do have an array of ground
Yeah,
vehicles,
there
that
we
can do
go,
this
there we go, exactly. And there it is, right? I didn't watch. I'm just watching this with you guys. I didn't watch anything, so I didn't know. But yeah, definitely we get a Cyclone there and the Storm and then the Nova tank. So it's really filling the gap here between
role.
the two vehicles.
Not very many of them are as heavily armoured as a tank, and sometimes Constance goes a bit sideways and you need some firepower to help get you out of that situation. So the Storm is really excels in this scenario. It can be ahead of the fleet on the ground, engage targets and hold its ground.
Oh,
before
that's
the
going to be
main
how
force.
the cockpit is going to look like. Yeah, nice visibility. I like that. Quite clear indeed, but at the same time protective. You are not very exposed to
ground
any
vehicles
fire.
arrives for backup. One aspect that we wanted to change from the traditional tank and Nova setup is making this energy weapon based. So it had a much greater independence from the main task force on the ground, in that it wasn't constrained by ballistic ammunition. So it has an energy autocannon on.
Yeah, ballistics are so annoying. I really don't like ballistics in Star Citizen, because then you run out of them and then you're just useless, right? So it's really great that it has energy. I can definitely see this vehicle being used against infantry, but I think you're gonna need several of them to be fighting a Nova tank, for example, or maybe a Centurion. You're not going to be fighting any large ground vehicle with this, but for infantry, definitely that's going to be quite dangerous. I can see it's like the AT-ST, you know, in Star Wars, but in Star Citizen, that's what it's gonna be.
Top, twin-barreled, to help lay down firepower, really
Twin
only
barrel,
constrained
okay.
by the size of its capacitors and power plant. The Storm is really designed for supporting Novas in attacks. It can take on most other ground vehicles. If you're brave, you can take on a Nova with it, but you probably want to bring a friend or two to help even the...
That's what... There we go. It's not going to be for taking down Novas, but other smaller ground vehicles, yes, and of course, ground troops,
I
yes.
received the task to complete a new vehicle I was told to do a tank, most precisely something that would have become a killer of killers. We had to go back to the origins of Tumbril and let this new tank look less like the Nova tank and more like the Cyclone. So it was important to get back that aggressiveness and that dynamics that the Cyclone had. So we opted for something a little less classical and went on a design that is absolutely more related to the manga and anime's world.
Cool.
When people see the Storm for the first time,
yeah, it looks very sci-fi. That's also kind of vehicle I would see in StarCraft, for example. I love it. It's great.
Cared.
I like the threads here also in the front.
Flimsy paneling. There is no beautiful refined surface. This is just optimal.
It looks beautiful.
And very, very dynamic. So we don't have a lot of parallel lines. We have a lot of X's and V's, very strong shapes that deline what is popularly recognized as dynamic and aggressive. The interiors of the Storm will feel really full of...
Okay, so that's where we can see the interior. So it's got an interior, right? It's got weapons, right? Probably that's from something that you can open from the outside. There's the components right there. Can we put a delivery box inside, please? There's the cockpit right here. So it doesn't have an interior that you can explore. Oh yeah, it has double barrels indeed, but it doesn't have an interior. It's just like you open the cockpit, you're in, that's it. There's no room for storage.
Pipes of fabric, of mechanical stuff. It have to look basically ventral, like you have just been eaten by a machine. So what we have is...
You've been eaten by a machine.
Very composed design, something that is uncommon in the tank we know today. So what we wanted to achieve when you look at the Storm is fast.
Yes,
Strike fast.
And that's also something that those ground vehicles are not very fast usually. And having that effect of speed can be great for reconnaissance. You can do a quick skirmish, hit and run, and then come back with a heavy artillery. It's definitely a vehicle that can be used for that. Again, very useful for places like Jumptown. You can see there's an A2, for example, that's coming. It's going to bring a big bomb. Well, maybe with a Nova tank, you would not have enough time to run away. Maybe with this one, you'll have enough time to run away.
Fast,
that's
move
also
fast,
something
do
I'd like
everything
to
fast,
see.
No need to rely on a crew. I like that it looks a bit like an animal. It's very snaky.
I like this guy, Alberto. He seems very creative
like a crocodile.
with a lot of imagination.
Now, of course, the big question everyone always asks for every new concept promotion is when? When will it go into production? Well,
tell us, Jared.
Let's go now to the vehicle team in our Los Angeles studio and find out more.
Okay.
The problem is where my story goes is always I will identify all of the issues that I have to overcome first, and then like build a plan for breaking them down. So I'm trying to think of a way of
I think it's going to come for CitizenCon.
We had a lot of cleaning up to do to make sure
Mark my words, guys.
it was worthy of the engine. It's ready for engine. It's not going to break anything when it goes in there. And that was what most of the initial white box work we did, at least from an art side.
All right, so they're on the white box.
We were more concerned about alleviating a lot of the issues we knew were present with the Nova, stuff like traversing on uneven terrain, exiting the hangar. These are issues we solved first rather than waited until later in production and realized there were more difficult tasks to overcome.
So most recently, we finished Gray Box. We completed all
so
the animations. Currently, I am doing material and detail pass on the tread housings for the Tumbril Storm. This thing has challenged me in ways I haven't been challenged before in working in the game industry. For example, the treads took a couple different iterations. So we got
that's
right,
the problem.
and be able to get like the right movement as it deforms to the ground planes. This ship is definitely more organic than anything I'm used to. And I suppose it's like its own challenges, but it's been a learning process.
Yeah, just to continue on to LOD 0.
I love this. This is so cool.
The art assets.
I'm in love with
this. Correct
it's
for
like
when we move on to all of our higher detail.
The perfect little ground vehicle that
details
I've been waiting
for. A bit later.
Everything from the way the doors open on the tank to the cockpit itself. When you go inside this thing, it's like stepping into a mech. It's completely different from any other vehicle I've seen in this game.
It is.
My favorite thing about Storm is going to be the role of it. The Nova is a very, very big tank. It requires 3 people. It's got that big size 5 cap.
Where can we put also, because I bought this blind. I was like, yes, I want this, without knowing anything about it. I would be very happy if we could fit this, at least in the Mercury Starner, you know? Because if again, it's just a C2 Hercules, come on, not everybody's got a C2 Hercules, right? It needs to be easier to fit in. A Constellation, perhaps?
You don't always need a size 5 cannon.
No, we
Some
don't.
people may disagree, but I don't think you do.
It's size 3,
the
right?
Storm is a little bit quicker, only requires one person. It kind of sits in a really good spot between something very quick like a Cyclone and something a little bit more punchy like the Nova.
I'm excited the progress that the team has made on this. It's been a real beauty to work on, and it should be a lot of fun for the players too.
Probably for Season Con.
So what did we learn this week?
We don't know
learned
when,
that the
but I
RSI
guess
Lynx
it's
is the new
Season Con.
benchmark for traveling planetside in
All right,
comfort
guys.
and style.